Hi, Lou here to talk briefly about an oddball subject. It's cases where a group of players adopt a standard way of playing a game that arises from personal preferences and often defeats the original purpose of the game or otherwise makes it less playable. It often doesn't correspond with the spirit or the letter of the rules, but it seems to be something that they like. They assume that certain rules won't be used, or they make house rules that ruin the original way the game was supposed to be played. And they try to force people who aren't part of the group to play the same way, even though you can play other ways within the rules. As I give examples, you may scratch your head occasionally and wonder why they chose as they did. Risk is the first one. My brother played with a group that was both non-aggressive and what I have to call tidy. As they chose their initial positions, each one took a continent and the others didn't interfere. So each one controlled a continent. For their turns, they took a place in Asia, which no one controlled, then pulled back all but one army that had done the capture and collected their territory card. So of course it was easy for somebody else to capture that same territory. At some point, after they'd collected vast armies by turning in cards, they actually started fighting each other. Though my brother couldn't figure out what the trigger was for that, what the signal was, or the thing that was supposed to happen that changed how they played. Now, this is really strange to me, but it's an example of how people drastically change how a game is played. Someone told me once about playing in a tournament of a railroad game. I don't recall which one, but it's one where you gradually made routes from town to town. In his turn, he blocked a route someone was about to complete, which was totally within the rules. "Oh no," said the other players, who knew each other well, "that's not how we play." He said it's within the rules. They didn't care. They proceeded to gang up on him and take him out of the game because he wasn't playing the way they thought the game should be played, even though he was playing by the rules. Once again, here you could suspect that the people were trying to be nice, but in a sense it's not nice to gang up on somebody because they don't want to play the way you want to play, even though they play within the rules. Poker. My brother once played penny ante poker with a group of college guys. They set the maximum bet at 2 pennies. So when my brother tried to bluff, they always called because he couldn't make a big enough bet to put them off. They'd throw in their 2 cents and call. So this group had removed the major part of the game of poker, bluffing. Why bother to play without bluffing? There's really not much else that's interesting in poker. And this can happen even in Secret Hitler to some extent, which is a social deduction game, what I'd call a guessing game. My brother played 3 games of this at a party. And like me, he was dismayed that there are virtually no significant decisions to be made. It's a guessing game. The difference is I don't actually play. I watch people play, but I am clued in to how these games work, and I don't bother. Most of the players in the game are either liberals or fascists. The fascists know who the other fascists are. The libs don't know the faction of anyone but themselves. So the main thing that happens is somebody gets 3 cards and passes 2 on. The cards are either liberal or fascist. And this is the major action of the game, other than talking with each other. Well, after Jim did this, the owner of the game insisted that the way to play was for Jim to tell him what the cards were. Even though he didn't know if Jim was a liberal or a fascist, and Jim didn't know if the owner was a fascist or a liberal. Now, why you would do that or expect someone else to do that, I have no idea, but the owner was annoyed with Jim because he wouldn't do it. I can't remember encountering this personally, and I think I would, but I've certainly seen house rules that seem to break a game. And if we go into the RPG space, there are a lot of oddball house rules, but the game is so big and involves so much that they generally don't ruin the game. Thanks for listening.